Wow. Some of you guys are just really faithful, aren't you? Just popping in here early. You're getting to know how I work. I tend to come in early, like early. I prefer to be early than late. I hate making people wait. So if it means just coming in and just chatting about whatever for a little bit, well, that's fine too. I'd rather do that than make people wait on me. That's just me. Of course, being a dance instructor, a martial arts instructor, I had very high standards when it came to time, being punctual. I think it shows that you are a responsible, diligent person when you do that. So that's just me. I know not too long back, I was waiting on a live show that I really wanted to listen to. I don't really follow this person closely, but it was going to be an interesting one. That guy was about 40 minutes late. I'm like, "This is ridiculous. Is he ever coming on?" I mean, and then he had this long, long countdown before he finally started. I'm like, "This is crazy." Anyway, so yeah, that was interesting. But that's irritating. That's why I'd rather be early. So, and Mr. Rain just got home, so who knows? He may or may not drop in either as hi, either as either in here or in the chat in the as a moderator. And maybe answer some questions, even though today it's going to be more about herbs and using herbs as medicine, in case, of course, you weren't paying attention to the title. So I'm going to go ahead and do my greeting now because I sometimes tend to forget it later. And for those who know, I take a chunk of these live shows out, edit it, add photos and stuff, and then make a standalone video on the topic and leave in some pertinent questions and all that. Really good questions. So, hello, all. Thanks for coming. God is good all the time. So glad to see y'all here. And I am going to just be talking about a few random things to start with, and we will get into the topic on using herbs as medicine once I get to the 1 hour mark, which would be noon my time. So I like to come in early just to chat a little bit, give people time to come in because they're getting their notifications who knows when. I know with some things like Rumble, when I don't get notifications, like email notifications on a video publication until after it's been out a day or two. It's kind of crazy. And YouTube sometimes is the same way. And some people don't get any at all. But I have to say, things are looking up. Things are finally starting to look up. It may take a long time before things get back to normal, and I'm hoping it's just not a fluke, not a crazy thing. I hope it's going to be continue to go up. And I know a lot of it is thanks to a lot of my loyal followers. Some people following me from several different accounts and watching my videos from several different accounts on both platforms or well, platforms, but also, because I have Rumble, but also the two different sorry, I go again. The two different channels I have here on YouTube. And if you're new and you don't know what's going on there, I started a secondary channel as a backup because I just how crazy things have been getting. It started almost a year ago, and then about a month ago, things really started just tanking, and it didn't make any sense. I'm still doing all the same type of content, whatever. It was just crazy, and I know partially why, but I can't be certain. I can only make educated guesses based on the life of my channel and the way things have gone and some of the crazy stuff that's happened. But I think starting the second channel, I think it's actually been helpful to this channel. It really seems like it's actually helping. So once I get that built up, to the proper amount of views, which by the way, the watch hours is up to 1,700 watch hours. You guys have really been helping me out. So not quite halfway there. I got to get to 4,000 watch hours before I can have control over the monetization and actually earn some of the revenue that YouTube is making off of my videos. But anyway, it's really cool to see how things are doing over there. And so once I get to that point where everything's kind of set, I'm everything's verified because there's like this verification process you have to go to. And that's different than the verification thing you get when you get 100,000 subscribers. But just so I can pin comments to the top, I have to go through this verification thing. They want, and one of the things you can do to do it instantly is give them a picture of your ID. And I'm like, no, I'll just wait and let things just go naturally. So I decided to go that way. Um, but it's weird how different things are starting a channel now than it was back in 2016 when I officially got my channel up and going. Really, really different. But once I do that, I keep trying to get to this topic. I have to decide how I want to do things. I want the same type of content basically on both channels, and I want to keep them both alive and well. But I got to decide, do I want to do like maybe start putting all Mr. Rain's videos over on that channel, or have that channel be all about just the live shows and then just the pre-recorded shows here? Or I don't know. I got a lot thinking to do. And you know what? I'm welcome to suggestions, but it might the whole idea is to have another YouTube channel in case this one gets taken down because of the way things were looking there for a while, to have that backup, have it built up, have a good subscriber base over there. And then just if something happens to this channel, Rain Country One, I can then start taking my videos and just that were here and start putting them over there. And that was the plan. But if things continue and I manage to hang on to both channels just fine, then I kind of want to have some sort of I want to have it organized a certain way. So it's not the same exact stuff on both. But right now, what I'm doing is having doing a live show on each. So the live show here is usually I pick a topic and then cover some points that I want to cover. And then on the one on Wednesdays on Rain Country 2, if you're not subscribed to it, by the way, check down in the description box, you'll find a link to that. Or maybe one of my mods who's still around, I saw a bunch of them. But anyway, maybe they can get that link and drop it into the chat to make it easier on you. But at any rate, that live show on Wednesdays at about the same time in the day is to answer questions that have either come in on this chat that I might have missed during the chat, or questions that have come in through email or other videos and whatnot. So I'm actually going to start the topic. I think, well, I could wait till noon, but I think I'm going to start. I think I'm going to start real soon. I don't know. Usually I wait until the hour, don't I? So maybe what I'll do, I don't know. I keep kind of changing things around, trying to figure out how the best way I want to do things. Because part of the reason I wait until a little bit later is Sundays, a lot of people are in church and they're in church at all different times because we're, all across the world. And we do church on Saturday, so it's no big deal to me, but I try to find that medium ground. I don't like to do things too late in the day when it comes to this, because then I got to change out of these clothes, my nicer clothes, and put on my other clothes that I don't mind washing dishes in, scrubbing floors and toilets, or going out and taking care of my chickens or whatever other dirty type stuff I got to do, because it's inevitable. I will get something. This is a brand new shirt. I don't want to ruin this shirt. This is my shepherd's crook shirt, and it's a light colored shirt. There we go. Shepherd's crook. Can you tell? I really, really like this coffee. That is my very, very favorite coffee. Very favorite. So, yeah, you know what? Here's something interesting. I was just debating whether or not I should even share this, but on the post I made a few weeks back when I first started this channel, and I made a post about how I had to start, why. It was basically, I didn't go into details why I was starting the channel. I just said, starting this channel. Someone who I don't even know if they're actually a follower came in and called me a liar and say I was just doing it to make more money. Oh, isn't that funny? Like, I'm going to make more. I'm actually losing money, been losing money for the past year. And I can't even monetize on the other channel until I get 4,000 watch hours. And even when I do, I won't be making more money because I can't be I'm not going to be putting 5 full videos a week on each channel and hoping they all get the same amount of views as each other. That's not going to happen. So first of all, that was silly. They called me a liar, and then to top it all off, they lied right off the bat because they said they've been following me for over a decade. Well, I didn't actually start this as a channel until 2016, 8.5 years ago. So they were lying and then calling me a liar. Projection, whatever, weird. It's funny the things that make people so mad. So they were like, "Should I just go ahead and unsubscribe here since you are being deceitful?" And I said, "Well, go right ahead because if you, I don't want anyone following me who thinks that I'm a liar and I'm just here to deceive people. And don't follow me on my second channel either, please. Goodbye." Anyway, it's just it's so dumb. It's so dumb how bent out of shape people get because you're just trying to do the best you can to hang on to what you've worked so hard for and to maybe make some revenue off of the many hours that goes into that full-time job that you do. Wow, the things that people get offended about. So, yeah, maybe I will wait till noon and then get into the topic of herbs. So, if you're coming in to this later, just go ahead and go in. I know I've already been talking for a few minutes, but just go in about 20 minutes or 15, 20 minutes around in there if you want to get right to the topic of using herbs as medicine. And a couple other things I wanted to just bring up while I've got time was, let's see, I had somebody, okay, so on the video that came out this last week, which is part of the reason why things have been doing good, because that video just blew up. I mean, I shouldn't say blew up, but it did as well as my videos used to do over a year ago. And it was the one on 5 unexpected things. And the premise of it was to just pick some random things that people might have. They might be somewhat common, but people might not think of stocking up on those particular things and why. And it was also supposed to be on things outside of food and water because I cover that kind of stuff in so many videos. And then I also have the essentials lists series that I'm doing. So I have the medical essentials, I have the canning, food preservation essentials, the types of foods I like the essential foods I like to can and dehydrate, and a few different ones. I have another one in here that I'm going to be shooting. I got to get all my notes taken down. But anyway, so somebody brought this up, and I don't want, it's not that it's a bad idea, but I wanted to approach this one because I know people have mentioned the idea of storing up coffee filters. Well, there's a lot of things that, like for me, I would never store coffee filters, disposable coffee filters. And even though, yes, I understand they have a lot of uses, some of the uses that were brought up were things that could easily be dealt with the flannel or the linen that I was talking about stocking up on that can then be reused. Now, the nice thing about throwaway stuff to stock up on, because I do still keep some disposable things on hand, we just very rarely use them. Having some disposable items on hand are going to be good because you might be in a situation where you can't wash those fabrics. So, yes, in that case, sure. But I would not depend on using coffee filters as toilet paper replacement. Um, they're really not meant for that. And it's not, I don't know if you guys remember what happened in 2020 when people were just using whatever they could. And there were sewers backing up all over the place. It was terrible because people were just using whatever. They were getting desperate instead of just going, okay, I have a bunch of washcloths or these old t-shirts or something that I'm going to use and just wash and learn how to do it because it's not as bad as you think, people. It's really not. I mean, I did cloth diapers with my babies. It's not hard to do cloth wipes for yourself. So, but yes, paper products, we do still stock toilet paper, even though I use the cloth all the time. Because there's gonna be those instances or maybe you don't have the water to wash with. And so paper plates, paper napkins, paper coffee filters, that's great. I have nothing against it. I don't store coffee filters because our stainless steel coffee pot, it gets we brew our coffee on the wood stove when we have fires going and or wherever. and it just has a stainless steel basket in there. I don't need to use a coffee filter in. So I've just never have need for coffee filters. But yes, they do have a lot of uses. I just would say don't use this toilet paper. And if if you're wanting to stock up on something disposable to use as toilet paper that you don't have to wash, use toilet paper. Paper toilet paper is going to be cheaper than using coffee filters or paper towels, which neither one should be flushed down your toilet. So I wanted to say that because again, I didn't want to make this person feel bad because there's some good ideas there, and it's also it is wise to have some disposable things on hand, but there are better things that can be done with some other things. So, the cloth, I'm gonna keep coming back to that. In fact, I have a video coming out, I can't even remember what it's called now. Uh, I can't remember. I don't remember, but that's one of the things I do talk about. So Mr. Rain made it in. Oh, good. Hello, Mr. Rain. Came back down from the mountain just in time. You know, uh, Diametra, it's crazy how I knew before I even had my babies that I was gonna go cloth. I worked in a daycare for 2 years when I was 20, 21. And there were a couple of kids that came in now because they were in the daycare, they had to have disposable diapers, but there's certain parents that that's the only reason they had the disposable diapers. It was just required. I think it was part of the health code and all that. But there were some that would bring their kids in with their cloth diapers on. And I remember thinking, especially after changing all of those, I might have 20 kids and changing all these diapers all day long. I'm like, I can handle cloth diapers. I really believe I can handle cloth diapers. And it wasn't bad. It was actually pretty simple. And I looked at I when I figured out how much money I saved doing cloth over, I mean, and I did think about the cost of the water, the detergent I was using, whatever, all that. I did figure in all that cost. And I saved a lot of money doing cloth. And it's always there. They're always there, and they last for a long, long time, and you get the right kind of diaper, you can adjust them to the size of the child, so it's not like you have to keep buying different sizes, and if they grow out of one, oh, now I gotta go buy a different size. You don't have to do that unless you get those ones that are made, where they are only made to fit one size. But back in the day, when my kids were in cloth diapers, there was 2 types of diapers you bought. You had the big gauze ones that were just massive and you can fold them however you wanted. And then you had what was called the pre-folded, which were just a rectangle with a thicker spot down the middle. Those were my favorites to use. But you could still fold them to fit the size of the child. So it would work for a newborn or it'd work for an older, a young toddler just before they're getting ready to potty train. So, yeah, cloth just used to be the way of life for a lot of things. And and back to the wipes. Some people just prefer to use like buy cheap Dollar Tree or dollar store dish rags in a specific color that would be different than the ones they would use for dishes and stuff, and then use those. Those would work as well. I use flannel pieces, but, those would work really good too. They'd clean very well, and I always wet them down before I use them. And, yeah, get you nice and far cleaner than some dry paper will ever do. And it is like I know Linda said this before. I don't know if she said it in chat or not, but she said it before in comments that it's actually when you switch to cloth, people think, "Oh, that's cheap. Who can handle this? Disgusting. It's gross." But you know what? It's more like luxury. I hate toilet paper now. I hate it. I hate it when I have to use it. It feels more ritzy using cloth, I'll tell you that. And as easy as they are to wash, it's not that hard. Just I do wash them in their own separate load, but it's simple. Hot water, my homemade detergent, maybe a splash of vinegar, homemade, of course. So easy. Same way you would wash the cloth diapers. Okay, let's see if there was something else. Okay, I think the next topic I'll save until after I get done talking about herbs as medicine. If I have time, who knows? This could go on for a while. I only have a few notes written down on this, but I'm expecting to get a lot of great comments. So, by the way, those of you who have any questions or things that you want to direct specifically to me and I need to see them, make sure you put the whole thing in all caps. You can say question or not, that doesn't matter. As long as it's in all caps, it's going to catch my eye. And I realize I don't have my glasses ready again. So let me go grab those because my eyes aren't so great today. Those ones. Okay. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to use my broken ones. They just broke, but that's okay. I'm not going to leave them on anyway because they make a weird glare with the lights. So, and besides, I can read the all caps better. Can you recommend a book on herbalism? I actually have several videos where I talk about books, and one of them actually, no, it's not. Well, one of them is down below, but I don't know if I have all the same herb books mentioned there. But I did link to a video down below on how to do your own research. And I have a video on YouTube about building your preparedness library, but another one coming out soon for that's going to be is I it's basically an update, but I do talk more about some herbal books in there. A lot of them are pretty much the same as I mentioned in the past. Um, Oh, and by the way, when it comes to asking questions about your zone and garden, I won't be able to answer those. And I'm sorry, that's something you're going to have to look into. If you're looking for something specific for your zone, remember your zone only refers to hardiness. That's all zone refers to. It says nothing about your climate as a whole. So your climate is going to be if you're like us, our climate is very cool and extremely wet. You may live in a very hot, dry climate. You may live in a climate that has all four seasons, unlike us. So there's a lot of factors. Zone only refers to the hardiness. So if you want to get a plant that can handle if it gets really hard freezes, then that's what you're wanting to look at. Or if your area gets extreme heat, you want to look at plants that can handle that. That's what zone refers to. But even within those zones, you can have very, very, very different climates. So one example I always like to give is Deep South Homestead, Danny and Wanda. They're actually in the same zone as us, but their climate is about as opposite of ours as it can get. So I won't be able to tell you because I don't live in your area. I haven't practiced growing things in your area. I only know what works for me and what I've learned thus far. And I didn't get serious into gardening until about 2012. So, yeah. So it was 12 years ago. What would you do for varicose veins and muscle cramps? Okay, I'm going to just kind of skim through some of this. I'm not, and I'm going to tell you this before I try to answer any of these questions. Here's the thing. I am not certified. I don't have a license in herbalism. I don't have any kind of degree in this kind of stuff. Everything that I know is based on what I've learned thus far, what I've studied so far. And most of it for either my sake or when I think of a topic, because I know a lot of people have been asking about it, whether it be about digestive health or menopause or whatever, then I will compile as much information as I can and put it in a video. And I don't recall if I linked to that playlist down below. I know that was my goal. I don't know that if I did, and I can't see the description from where I'm at. So I have a playlist that's called Natural Remedy Lists. And then I have another playlist. I know I put this one down below that is Herbs and More Benefits and Uses. And the difference with that particular playlist is that's me breaking down individual herbs and their benefits, not just herbs though, other things. That's why it says herbs and more benefits and uses. Where the other list, I'm focusing on a particular ailment or something, even if it's just for hair health, skin health, whatever, and then compiling herbs and other things that will be good for helping with that. So I do have a video that on herbs and more. It's not called herbs and more. I think it's natural. The name is a little bit different, but it's about menopause, things you can do because I'm been there, done that. All right. So I still have hot flashes now and then, but I have a video on that. And where I not only compiled information on things that I don't use, but also shared what I've done, such as my jet fuel latte blend. And by the way, switching to linen sheets, amazing, amazing. They're expensive, but they're worth it. They're worth it if they can help you sleep and cool those hot flashes just like that, or even prevent them from happening at all. So, um, anyway, now let's see. Oh, boy, I didn't know the questions were going to come pouring in. Oh no, here's another thing you should know is that if I don't get to your question today, these are things that I will approach in on the Wednesday's live show on my other channel. So I'll try to answer as many as I can. Why would soaking in Epsom salt give me muscle cramps? I don't know. I don't know why soaking in it would give you cramps. Maybe it's too much um, magnesium for you. I can't say. I don't have an answer for that, and I apologize. Uh, Herbal suggestions in what form to help with common issues in 0 to 6 month babies and for mama pre and post birth dry skin. I do have a video on skin health. I don't have a video yet on specific herbs for babies. I have a few baby related videos out there, but you can always do a search on my channel. Remember, I have over 2,300 videos out here, not counting all the stuff I had to remove. Let's see. Okay. I what? See, I'm sorry, I'm misunderstanding this question, I think. I drank water and 1 cup of coffee and then no poison pot, but seems like OP all day long. I think too frequent. Well, um, if you're feeling good, I mean, the thing is, uh, if you're there can be if your urine is very, very light yellow to clear, then you're probably drinking a little too much liquid, but it's probably if you feel good, it's probably not hurting you. If it's very, very dark, you're not drinking enough. That's what you should be going by, not so much by how often you go. But coffee will make you pee a lot. It will, even 1 cup. So anyway, let me go ahead and cover a few points here, and then I'll get back to more questions. So, um, starting off with where am I? Okay, let's talk. Let me just list off some of the forms. So this is about using herbs as medicine. There's different ways that you can use them. So if you're new to all this, a lot of people will talk about tinctures or this or that, and it can be you can start feeling like you're just swimming in a bunch of stuff that you're like, I don't even know what all that means, or they make you feel like you got to tincture everything. No, you don't. There's all different forms. You have tinctures and extracts, which are all tinctures are extracts, but not all extracts are tinctures. And I tell you, I still get confused sometimes as to which is which. So I tend to call them all extracts, but sometimes I'll say tinctures because, people are a little more familiar with that word when it comes to herbs as medicine. But typically, this is just very, very general. A tincture is usually made with a spirit, so a higher proof alcohol, such as a vodka, rum, bourbon, whiskey, whatever. Okay, people will typically use vodka because it's usually the cheapest spirit you can find, and it's virtually flavorless, but it still tastes like alcohol, very strong alcohol. Then extracts can be made from just about any solvent you want. I often use my own homemade wine. I'll use homemade wine mixed with honey. You can make an extract that's called an oxymel that is made with vinegar and honey. It's a 50-50 blend. And when I've done at least one of those to try it out, and I use my homemade vinegar because it's cheap. I like using my homemade wine for the same reason. It's cheap compared to using a spirit. However, there are certain types of medicinal herbs and such that will extract better with a higher proof alcohol. Usually, the my very generalized simplified way of saying that is usually if it's something like a woody type item. Turkey tail mushrooms, when they're dry, can be very woody. Now, some people do a double extraction. I did that. I kind of found out that with the turkey tail, it's totally pointless. You can just do a high proof alcohol extraction with your dried turkey tail mushroom. I'll use it for barks, uh, anything like that, like cinnamon or, anything is going to be harder, woody roots, dried roots. That doesn't mean you can't use other types of solvents. There are alcohol-free solvents like the oxymel that I mentioned with the vinegar and the honey. That would be safe for just about anyone. The honey makes it taste a lot better than making it strictly out of vinegar, which you can do. I first started making my pain extract, I was using just homemade vinegar. And with that, with the taste of the very, very, very bitter feverfew was very nasty. It worked, but it was very nasty. Now I use homemade wine and honey and add a few other herbs. And I got my pain extract figured out. But here, well, let me finish talking about this topic and before I talk about that. Um, so I said tinctures and extracts. Then you got teas slash infusions. It's the same thing. Tea is actually in reference to a specific type of infusion that is made from the tea plant, which is the Camellia sinensis. You can also get the same results from Camellia japonica. And all of your different true teas come from those plants. So it doesn't matter if it's white, oolong, black, or green. It all comes from the same plant. It just depends on when they're harvesting the leaves and what they're doing with their leaves. Are they fermenting them? Or they let them oxidize for a period of time? That's where you get the black because the leaves will oxidize. You're rubbing them, you're breaking them down. You leave them out for a few days and then they turn black. That's where you get the black tea. Green tea is going to be made with younger leaves that are not allowed to oxidize so much. And I don't know about the white and the oolong. I looked at it a long time ago. I don't remember what the differences are. Not a big fan of true tea. Now and then it's okay, but most of the time, no. But in infusion, we call everything tea, that anything that we make with hot water and some kind of herb. But technically, when you're talking about any other herb besides the Camellia sinensis, it is called an infusion. And an infusion can be cold or it can be hot. Then you have decoctions, which are similar, but that's something you're going to cook down. Again, just like with the higher proof alcohol, a decoction is typically used with things like dried citrus peels, cloves, cinnamon sticks, ginger, dried ginger. I love using ginger. Like I get fresh ginger from Azure Standard, cut it up, dehydrate it. I love using that in teas. It makes an amazing tea. It sounds like somebody stopped by, so it's a little noisy right now. I don't know who's here. Makes a great tea. It's very strong, very tasty. But yeah, a decoction. So that means you're going to add the water, you're going to put it on whatever your cooking surface is and let it simmer for a time, like 20, 30 minutes or longer. So you can really pull all the goodness out of that. Now, with a lot of your more delicate herbs, the reason a tea is used, like, somebody might use a French press, or with me, I'll put the more delicate herbs, I'll just put them all in the pot with the water. I'll let it all heat up together on my wood stove, and I time it so it's not sitting there too long. And then I'll set it up on a higher trivet so it stays warm so I can drink off of it as whenever I'm ready. The more delicate herbs, you want to be careful. My Chat is not moving. There we go. Hopefully it start moving again. Oh, I see Tyler made it in. You wanna be careful not to cook those at a high heat. You don't wanna really cook them. You just want them hot because you can damage some of the medicinal benefits. Now, one thing to know is that a lot of times, you might damage some benefits while getting more out. Let me spray some of my elderberry tincture on my throat because it's starting to get itchy. I made a throat spray. It really helps. Because I already shot 2 videos today. My throat's very itchy. My vocal cords just, ugh. So I don't know how long I'll be able to last today. Let's see. What was I gonna say? I was talking about what was I talking about? Oh, the properties. So citrus peels. So citrus peels have a lot of vitamin C in them. Obviously, if you get them too hot or too hot for too long, you're gonna destroy a lot of the vitamin C in it. However, by taking citrus peels and simmering them as a decoction, you're going to pull more of the quercetin out and get the benefits of that. So a lot of times it's a give and take. It doesn't mean if you did something one way that you're not getting anything good out of it. So don't ever feel like any of that's, oh, I did it wrong because so and so said I should never do it this way or I should always do it that way. Don't worry about it. Just you'll learn as you go. Like here's something I learned about peppermint. I can tell when a lot of the benefits of my peppermint when I'm making a peppermint tea are probably not all that great is because when I go to drink the tea, oh, it sounds like my grandbabies are here. I haven't seen them in like over almost 2 weeks because my daughter-in-law's had all this time off. Well, she was sick the one week and then she had Christmas week off and she got this week off. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh, the peppermint tea. When I forgotten about it and left it, and it was just boiling, 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 and I get back to it, I'm like, "Oh no, I forgot about it." And I can tell. I go to taste it, it doesn't taste minty. It just tastes green, and I'm like, "Great," and it's not even enjoyable. So I usually dump it. So this elderberry tincture, it's actually got echinacea in it too. I'm actually going to be doing a video soon. I know I said this last week, and I still haven't shot it yet. On making elderberry tincture and how I use it. So I just keep it in a dark glass bottle like this, spray bottle, and it works for sore throat, itchy throat. In my case, just itchy throat from the, shooting the videos and the talking. um, and it's really good for that. And of course, it's got all those great benefits of helping if you've got a cold or a flu, if that's what's causing, but that's not what this is. This is this is me a lifetime of singing and teaching because some of you might not know that from the time I was 15, I was leading worship with my guitar and my singing in youth group. I was in choirs. In fact, in my senior year in high school, I was in the high school itself. I was in 3 singing groups. Was it 3 or 4? I think it was 3, and then I was in 2 at church, and then sometimes would still do solos or duets with a friend, and then leading worship off and on through the years. So obviously, I don't do that anymore because my vocal cords are thrashed. Years of singing and many years, even probably at least as many years teaching dance and having to be able to speak over the music so my students could hear me and then doing YouTube. So they're thrashed. I've got nodules. I bet in my 40s, I couldn't figure out why I kept having to clear my throat, why was it always itchy, what was going on. So I went to an ear, nose, throat specialist, and that's what it is. I opted out of surgery. So, because why bother? um, I'm afraid I might not have finished what I was saying there. I got sidetracked again. Let's see. Oh, and then things like elderberries, by the way. Elderberries need to be cooked. It's best if you cook them. Now, when I make my elderberry tincture, I don't cook them. They're just dehydrated berries, which means they haven't been cooked, but I'm not worried about it. Because you're just the toxins that they're scaring you about are only in the seed, and you would have to actually chew on the seed. And if you're making a tincture out of it, you're just extracting the fruit. So that's why I'm not worried about that. Is anonymous? No, that's not Mr. Rain. Mr. Rain actually says Mr. Rain. He's not in here right now because it sounds like my son and my grandbabies are here. So, or at least one. I think Jax might be here. Somebody's here. It sounds like I hear Jax. I don't know if Rowan is here too. But anyway, but yeah, I keep that tincture just so when my throat starts to itch like that, it really helps because it's a tincture actually has uh I can't remember there's an alcohol in there. There's a spirit, and that helps to numb the throat. So it makes it a lot easier. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll see them. I'll see. And if Jax decides to come in here, that's fine. I don't know if he will or not. Maybe they're afraid to let him. I don't mind if he comes in here. Um, yes, you can use frozen or fresh for tincture, I recommend dry. So if you pulled them out of the freezer, I recommend drying. I think personal opinion, it'll be stronger if you do that. But you can make syrup out of the frozen ones without having to dehydrate them first. And you can use fresh for that as well. What is the spirit of eczema? What's going on here? I don't know. I don't know what these questions are. Is this somebody sing us a song? No. Nope. My sometimes I can still sing, but I'm certainly not going to do it now. My vocal cords can't handle that right now. Okay, let me see. So I talked about the different types. I didn't finish talking about the different types. See, it's taking me a long time just to get through this part. So besides your teas, besides your tinctures, you can also, if you don't like either of those, you can also dehydrate different herbs and put them in capsule form if that works better for you. Now, if you don't like spending money on the capsules or the hassle of making capsules, you can always take those herbs and just throw them in a small glass of whatever, or that powder or whatever it is, and just drink it down really fast. That's what I do when I'm taking the eggshell supplement and some other things. Just drink it down really fast and just call it good. Because some things I don't like to make a tincture out of, some things I don't want to make teas out of. I don't know. Do I have any mods in here right now? It looks like I don't have any mods in here. I'm wondering if Anonymous is a troll. I am not seeing, as long as they're being polite. I mean, they're going under Anonymous, so I don't know who they are. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Please. Yeah, I don't know. Some people are just asking Anonymous. I'm not seeing anything that looks rude, but if we get rude, then we just go Anonymous, I didn't even understand what half your questions are. Some of them just don't even make sense. So I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm just trying to understand them. Some people are claiming you might be a troll, but I don't know because I'm not seeing all the comments. I can't read all of the chat while I'm trying to also share information. Have you ever tried horehound herb for sore throat? Yes, I actually use the horehound I grow it, and that's one of the herbs I add to my elderberry um, syrup, the elderberry syrup. So because it's an herb, that's something that I will do. Like I'll, simmer the elderberries, the cinnamon, some of those kind of herbs, like a decoction. Then after I've done that, I'll take it off the heat. I'll put in the herbs, the other type of herbs, including, echinacea leaves, horehound, and a few other things, and then let them sit in there while it's cooling down and then strain all that out. That way I'm not damaging the um, benefits of those herbs. So at any rate, what kind of antibiotic use is nasturtium good for? Any kind of infection. You're taking it internally, so it's for any infection in the body. It doesn't matter if it's a tooth infection, ear infection, sinus infection, whatever. So, and I'd say that about any of the um, antibiotic type herbs. Same thing with oregano and echinacea. And so I have that actually, that's another video I had to redo. So that you'll see in a week or so. The new one, the remake. I don't know how far out it is because I'm like 6 weeks ahead on my videos. The remake to that. So I had the antiviral one I just redid come out. And then I had to redo the antibiotic one too. And it's because for the same reason, because of the certain substance that was mentioned in both videos. That's good for both. So at any rate, so yeah, the capsules and what else? I think those are the three main things. And some herbs are best cooked, some are best just lightly, the tea. So, okay, now let's talk about I'll get this question a lot on what herbs, and I know I've already seen some in the chat. Um, what herb is best for this or that or the other thing? So, again, let me refer you to the again, I don't think I have the list to this linked below. But if you look up on my channel, on my playlist, look for the one that says natural remedy lists. And then if you go to that playlist, just say view playlist, and then it will show you all the videos. I don't remember how many in there. There's quite a few where I break down all the different herbs, and not all my herbs. Sometimes it could be something like honey or diatomaceous earth or bentonite clay or even chocolate, cacao, that are good for. Hey, Trina, I see you're back in here. I lost all my moderators at the same time. There's someone that might possibly be a troll and might not, but they just have the name anonymous. I personally did not see anything rude, but a little suspicious. A lot of people were wondering if you could just kind of watch that and see if it is, then you know what to do. Um, so darn it, I hate it when I get distracted and I forget where I was at. Okay. So those different videos will help you find what's going to be good for those specific things. So I know I have one on helping with brain health, kidney health, um, oh, what's the Lyme disease. I said menopause, aches and pains, good for pain and inflammation, the antibiotics, the antivirals, and the list is long. I don't know. I can't remember everything. Skin health, hair health. So yeah, just weird. I kind of thought the same thing. So I don't want to be too hasty, and bring the hammer down on someone, but at the same time, you don't know. Sometimes they're just kids being silly. Let's see. So I can't, and then the next thing is when you look at those lists. So let's just say we were talking about antibiotics. So we were talking about the nasturtium leaf. Nasturtium leaf, I think, is my personal favorite to use as a natural antibiotic. However, that does not mean that the nasturtium leaf is going to be the best remedy for you. You might find turmeric or garlic or ginger work better. And so the great thing about herbs is that there's so many out there that have very, very similar properties. And then we can find the ones that we prefer, the ones we can handle, and the ones that are going to work best. And then and it's still a good idea to have several of those on hand because maybe your spouse, maybe your kids, maybe your grandkids will do better off of a different one. So it takes trial and error. So, I see Diametra's in here too. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you, Diametra. I couldn't tell. I thought because I know Mr. Rain, he was in here and now he's visiting. I think with my son. So, um, how do you use oregano oil? Just like with any essential oil, it's going to depend on what you're using it for. Oregano oil is very, very hot. So if you're applying it topically, you got to be very careful. A lot of people will use a carrier oil, avocado, olive, grapeseed, to dilute it before they use it on anything topical. But oregano oil can be good at topically helping as an antifungal, antiseptic, antibacterial, whatever. It's good. You just got to be careful because it's very, very hot. Question: how do you label your herbs? I'm trying to. Since I vacuum seal mine in jars, I label them on the top of the lid, and I put the date so that I can properly rotate through them. I look for the ones that are oldest. I usually try to rotate them, but then make sure the oldest ones are towards the front, and then use those up first. Okay, let's see here. A lot of questions coming in. Again, people, if I miss your questions and don't get to them, uh, I just write on the lid. But if I'm using Tatler, which I don't vacuum seal with Tatler lids, or those kind of lids don't do well for vacuum sealing. But if I were, when I'm canning with them, I use just masking tape. I don't try to make it fancy. I just kind of keep my herbs sorted out according to the types that they are and what I would most likely use them for. So yeah, anyway, so the research thing, this is why I put the video in the description box on how to do your own research. It's a few years old, but it is to help give you that place to start so you can know. You're like, okay, well, I have this and that ailment. And people will come to me and I'll be like, I don't even know what that is. I've never heard of it. Or maybe I've heard of it, but I have no idea because it's not something I have researched at this time. It's not something I've put together into a video like I've done all the other ones in the natural remedy lists, which, by the way, under those videos, I also have the list typed up and then put in a separate link. All you got to do is click on that link and it will open up that list in a separate window on Patreon for free. You don't have to pay for it, but it will show you a few pictures. I like putting it there because you can see some of the pictures of some of the herbs. And then the list will just be in there and you can copy and paste it into your own document and save it so that you don't have to write it all down. But at any rate, yeah, so you let's say you have this list, you're like, okay, I need to find out what's good at helping with my digestive issues. So I'm going to go to Heidi's video on herbs and more for digestive health. And I'm going to look through this list and say, okay, I see feverfew, I see ginger, I see chamomile, I see this, that, and the other thing. Okay, now I'm going to find out because I'm on this, maybe you're on a medication, or maybe you have allergies, maybe you're allergic to asters. So you got to find out what you can and cannot have. I can't tell you that because I'm not going to know what your medications you're on. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to know you well enough to know if it's going to work for you. And a lot of times you won't even know until you actually try it. So this goes to the next thing where people will ask, well, how much of this and that should I take? And again, I won't be able to tell you that. So something I say a lot is whenever a doctor gives you a prescription, all they're doing is making an educated guess on what you need because they won't know. They can only guess based on what they've prescribed to other people, but it may be too much or too little for you. And so always, whenever you're getting into using any natural remedy, though herbs generally speaking can be pretty safe, there you can still get too much of some things. And if you're allergic to it, you will definitely get too much. And so the best way to find out if it's going to work, once you've narrowed down everything else, is to simply try it in the smallest dose you can. Maybe it's just a drop of a tincture and no reaction, but no, you're not feeling any benefits, then try taking a little bit more and slowly increase from there. Don't just go, I'm going to drink a whole shot of this because, Heidi said this will work for me. So my immunologist says I should not have echinacea because I have an oversensitive immune system. Why would this be? I've heard that one a lot about the echinacea. So the reason why is because echinacea, one of the reasons it's often recommended to help prevent colds and flus is because it boosts the immune system. So if you already have a fairly overactive immune system, or sensitive immune system, it's not a good idea to take things that can boost the immune system. Echinacea being one of those. So that's a great question because that fits exactly into what I'm trying to say. I don't have a problem with echinacea. I have found very few herbs. I can't even think of any offhand that I have issues with. Some people, because of their digestive health, might not be able to handle certain things. I know somebody was asking about taking oregano oil internally. I know I have, but it's not something I make a habit of. And even then, it would be the tiniest amount. Um, some people do it every day. I would only do it if I felt I absolutely needed to. And here's why, for me, my reasoning is why is because too much oregano oil, because it is so powerful, can actually disrupt the good bacteria in your gut. And you don't want that either. So it's like, I mean, think of it this way. When you go to the doctor and you get put on antibiotics, what do you usually have to do? You usually got to take some probiotics like yogurt and other fermented foods to help balance out the gut, because those antibiotics are going to kill the beneficial bacteria that's in your gut, and thus, really mess up your gut flora. So you got to find that balance. The same can be done if you're taking too much of certain herbs, like oregano oil in particular, because it is so powerful. My sister took so much vitamin D, she was toxic. Yes, it can happen. The doctor said he never had seen this happen. She had taken gobs for a long time. Yep. One of the first things, and it's really hard to find this. And you'll have people that will tell you that, well, if people tell you that there's such thing as vitamin D toxicity, that's just to keep you from taking vitamin D because it's good for you because you need it. Well, not necessarily. So the problem with some things is we get ourselves where we don't trust big pharma, understandably. But we can swing so far to the other side that we'll think that everything that any doctor ever tells us is a lie, and that's taking it too far. I mean, I started to do that too, and then I had to kind of come back to center and realize, okay, these doctors do know what they're talking about here, here, and here. They might not know as much about herbal remedies, but they do have some understanding here, and not everything that you're being told is a lie. You gotta do the research for yourself. So here's what I found from experience by both myself, my son, and a couple other people, is that too much vitamin D can cause your hair to fall out. Now, you're told if your hair's falling out, take vitamin D3, and I've said that too. It can be helpful. It could be your hair fall could be a sign of a lack of vitamin D3, but not necessarily. It could be a sign of something else. So if you start taking vitamin D3 to stop the hair fall, but your hair starts falling out in greater gobs, stop taking it, because you will get to a point, there is such thing as vitamin D toxicity, and it also can cause hypercalcification. You don't want that either. This is why people say, well, you should take it in a balance with vitamin K, because vitamin K2 will balance out the vitamin D3 to prevent too much calcium from building up in your system. But guess what? A lot of your foods that are naturally high in vitamin D3, your fatty fishes, your cheeses, your egg yolks, also have K2 in their proper balance. Same thing goes with foods that are high in calcium. They also have magnesium. They need proper balance. So, yes, you should get to know your body. Listen to your body. You can't you can get good information from doctors, medical doctors. You can get good information from hardcore herbalists, but it doesn't mean all of that information is exactly going to be perfect for you, and you won't know until you just jump in and do it. So I share this story a lot, but when I decided that Patrick and I started getting more and more suspicious that we didn't need the thyroid medication. And even if we did, was there a better way? Because what happens if I can't get that medication? What happens if in a big grade down situation, I have no way to get the medications? It's the only prescription medication we were on was the thyroid medication. And we were each on it for 15 years because we ended up going on just months apart. So I So about 12 years ago, I started just reading everything I could find, research, 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 looking up this, trying different types of word searches, and had a heck of a time. It's a lot easier to find now, believe it or not, even with all the silencing of certain things. It's a lot easier to find information on herbs and more that are good for helping to boost the thyroid. A lot easier than it was 12 years ago. But I had to just start with the basics, getting rid of the fluoride, not drinking the city water, getting rid of all the Teflon pans, and adding things like nettle and more that's good at nourishing the thyroid. And that's where I had to start. So sometimes to find out what's best for you, it means and if I remember correctly, I mentioned some of this in the video that published on Friday about taking control of your own health and more. And so a lot of times it's doing the hard work yourself, because you can't trust any one person, no matter how knowledgeable they are, no matter how experienced they are, to tell you exactly what is right for you. You can get great information from them and from hard copy books. And so I absolutely say, yes, follow these different channels and get your hard copy books. But just understand there's not going to be one cure all that worked for this person that's going to work for you. So, keep records of what you take and how it affects you. Very good. I don't think I've ever said that or thought to say that. Very good. Thanks for saying that. Let's see. And then the other question, and I actually talk about this in tomorrow's this and that a little bit, but I get a lot. Well, not a lot, but sometimes is, can you mix herbs? Can you mix different herbs? Well, I personally do it all the time. I started doing it right off the bat without even thinking about it. But I also know I'm not really allergic to anything. But I never thought about the possibility of some things, maybe me not having a good reaction with certain things. So, coming back to what I said earlier about starting small and working up, it's really best if you start with if it's a new to you herb, something you've never used before. I mean, if you cook and you use things like thyme and oregano and sage and rosemary, and you've never had a reaction, most likely you won't have to worry about those. But let's say it's a totally new herb you've never tried. Maybe it is feverfew, maybe it's marshmallow, maybe it's a valerian, or the great amount of many, many, many other herbs there are out there. And maybe you never even heard of it, but thought, okay, I'll try it because I heard it's good for this. Try it by itself first. If you find it works, and then you try another herb and you know this works, and you would like to try using them together, then after you know you're not going to have a reaction to these two different herbs, then try mixing. So, like when I make my elderberry tincture or my elderberry syrup, I use a lot of stuff in there. I use uh let's see, besides the cinnamon and the ginger, usually I might even throw in some red pepper flakes, depending on what exactly I'm making. I'll have the elderberries. Let's see. I know I'm thinking of the star anise, maybe some citrus peels, and then the herbs I was talking about. So, however, there might be something in there. All that stuff is virtually safe for most people, but there might be something in there that somebody can't have. And it might work great for us, but it could cause a bad reaction to somebody else. But they won't know what that is, or I won't know what that is. Uh, you know, that's why starting with one thing at a time is usually best. Has the black walnut husk help with thyroid? I don't recall that being one of the things. But I do have that video on the thyroid, and I did type up a list, just like with my other ones, about what we did, the different changes we made, the foods we tried to add more of, the foods that we eliminated. And like I say, I keep saying the number one thing to eliminate, and you should do this whether you have thyroid issues or not, are anything with fluoride or fluorine. So if you're using Hexclad or any other type of Teflon pan, stop using it. And I know for a lot of people, some people probably got gifted Hexclad because it's an expensive pan. It's Teflon. I looked it up. It's hard to find. You have to go directly to the site and you have to look hard. And they might not label it as such, but if you know what you're looking for, you'll find it. That is absolutely what it is. and don't use that stuff. And don't drink fluoridated water. You either get special fluoride filters for your city tap water if you're on city tap water, or you do what we did and start collecting rainwater and filtering it yourself. Um, Thankfully, our city did stop fluoridating, but we still use our filtered rainwater. Question: any suggestions for morning chronic cough? Cough lasts around hour every morning. The problem with this question is that I don't know what's causing the cough, so I'm not gonna know exactly what's gonna help. Mullein is best for lung health. For cough, marshmallow may work, marshmallow root, marshmallow leaf. If you can have that, like I said, I've got my elderberry tincture. It's different than my elderberry syrup a little bit, and that works really good for cough. I even have a video out there on how to make a hot toddy concentrate. Hot toddy is an old-fashioned way to help with cough, and it's typically made with whiskey, but you can use any spirit. And I call it a concentrate because you can either add it to a hot tea as is a little bit, or you can just take a tiny sip of it because it's strong. And it's also usually involves raw honey and lemon and some spices, and it will vary by person. You can have cloves in there, you can have the star anise, you can have the cinnamon. But the main things in it that are going to help with the cough are the three main things: the whiskey, the honey, the lemon. Those three things. So old fashioned. That's just what people did. And I don't know what's causing your cough, but I know that you can get at least surface relief using that. But if this is something that's chronic, you're going to have to find out what the root of it is. And I won't know. I'm not a doctor again. And even if I was, I still wouldn't know. Even if I had that little piece of paper that I crammed really hard for just so I could pass my exams and hang it on my wall, I still wouldn't know. Let's see. Did you gain weight going off your off thyroid medication? I did. I did at first. It took a while, and I was able to. It took a while for my body to adjust. Patrick didn't, but I was also going through other health issues at the same time. I don't know if it was because I ended up getting EBV and Epstein-Barr virus. I don't know if I'd had it before or if it got activated because I was going off the thyroid medication. My body was going through these changes, or if it was because I know at least one of my dance students' parents had mono and it could have been passed to me. A lot of people think it's just the kissing disease. No, you can get it. It's a lot easier to get than that. Some of these little girls, they like to chew on their skirts or suck on their fingers, and maybe I'm grabbing their hands and maybe I touch my eye. It can be that simple. Because a lot of times I'm leading them. But anyway, and that takes a very, very, very long time to get over. And so, yes, it was very difficult. Um, Question: any suggestions for? Okay, I already got that. Sorry, my thing needs to catch up here. Sometimes it does. My goal this year is to get rid of my husband's Teflon fry pan and air fryer and get him used to stainless or cast iron. Right. Yep. Microwaves aren't all bad. We have a microwave. I really like using it for heating up rice packs for for putting on sore muscles. There's something about that kind of heat that retains better when you're talking about doing rice packs. Then we've tried it several different ways. We've tried heating the packs up on our wood stove. It's okay, but the heat doesn't hold the heat in because it's a dry heat. You need the moist heat that's caused by the microwave causes the rice or the beans, if you use beans or dry corn, to retain the heat for a lot longer. So, if nothing else, we like having a microwave for that. So, it's not all bad though, I wouldn't cook everything in your microwave. When is the best time to harvest mullein? I've yet to harvest my mullein. I would say when the leaves are fresh and green and if you're harvesting leaves, harvest the leaves before they start to flower. I say that because that's the standard rule of thumb for most herbs. Now, some things like dandelions, it's better to harvest the flowers as soon as they come on than the leaves later because the leaves because all the energy first goes into making the flowers on the dandelion. They're the one thing is that's different from most other herbs. It goes into making the flowers first, then when it's kind of done doing that, it feels like it's seated itself enough, then all the energy goes into making the leaves, and they can get huge, especially if they're getting plenty of water. Um, and then usually the roots would be the last thing a lot of people harvest in the fall. But with most of your herbs, yeah, harvest the leaves before the plant starts to flower, or you see once they start to flower and the flowers start opening up, then all the energy is going to go into making the flowers. Your leaves will start getting smaller. They'll still be good. You can still use them. They're just not gonna. You're not going to get as many of them because now the plant's all okay. I need to reproduce here. So yeah, and then you can use the flowers on the mullein. I ate a flower because I got my first flowers this last year, but this next year I will start harvesting my mullein. I got to move at least one of them out of a pot and into the ground so it has more room. No, I have. That's right. I have one or two out back in the ground, so I might not worry about that too much. Okay, let's see. Let me see if there was anything. Oh, so I was talking about mixing. I think I covered my main point. So I'm gonna scroll up. Wait, here's one question. Does dandelion tea have caffeine? No. Caffeine is going to be found in your camellia plants and in coffee. But no, not that I know of. I've never heard of a dandelion having caffeine in it. I could be wrong, but let's see. Let me scroll up. I might miss some new questions coming in, but I want to see if there's anything. Okay, I talked about the mullein. Yeah, cast iron, stainless steel, and glass are the three things that we use to cook and bake in. See, I answered that one. Sorry, people. I got to stop and kind of scroll through here. Can I change my elderberry tincture into a syrup? You can. You'd probably just want to cook it for a while. Then you can cook the alcohol out of it that way if that's a concern. And then, and I don't add the honey until after it's got the decoction has got down to room temperature, and after I've strained out all the herbs and all that stuff, the berries and whatnot. Then I add the honey and mix it in really good. And so that way the raw honey is also retaining its beneficial medicinal properties, which are also good to help with colds and flus and so on. Let's see here. Okay, I'm not going to scroll up too far. Wait, let me see. I thought I saw. Did you? Okay, that was one I already answered. Okay. And I will, again, like I said, later, I will go through the chat and see if there was anything else I missed and try to answer that on Wednesday on Rain Country 2 when I go live. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I don't wanna answer a question so definitively. I think I know, and I realize, I could be wrong. I could be wrong because you know what? I've never looked it up to see if there was caffeine. I can't imagine it would, but typically it's only gonna be found in your coffee, your chocolate, and in your, well, I shouldn't say only, but and then anything from the camellia plant, Camellia sinensis, Camellia japonica. Camellia japonica is lower in caffeine than Camellia sinensis, which is one of the reasons why most of your true teas are made from the Camellia sinensis, but also because that plant grows more prolifically than new leaves, and it's usually those new leaves that are constantly being harvested all the time. And they get really thick and bushy. Let's see. Oh, cool. Listen to this. So Diametra shares, my husband was in hospital following an accident. X-rays proved the comfrey he took worked. He was no longer mocked then. That is so cool. And the reason, though, I know a lot of you can read this if you're watching the replay or you're in here, you can read some of these. The reason I'll read some of these is I plan on keeping them in the standalone video I make, which there wouldn't be a chat to read. Have you ever heard of Dandy Blend? Yes. I like it. I have it. I don't like it all the time, but it doesn't taste like coffee. A lot of people, oh, it tastes like coffee. No, it doesn't taste like coffee. Um, but it's decent. It has a slight flavor to it. I mean, a slight, it has flavor to it, of course. Duh. It has a slight sweetness to it. And it's not just it's dandelion root and chicory root, both of which are just very, very excellent for you. And something else. Somebody's saying something about kidney failure. I do have a video on herbs and more for kidney health in that list I was talking about. How do they decaffeinate tea? I don't know. I just it's probably similar to how they do it with coffee. I just usually avoid anything that normally would naturally have caffeine in it that's been decaffeinated. Kind of like taking the healthy fat out of milk so you've got nothing but white water. Dumb. Sorry. If you have a problem with caffeine, then drink something else. Something that doesn't have caffeine in it. That doesn't naturally have caffeine. Let's see here. What is this? I'm looking a seed book, Johnny's, and they have 2 feverfew seeds, snowball and sunny. I don't know what those are. I can't even think right now what the botanical name of it is, but Brenda, I have a video on feverfew and I do put I almost have the name. I almost have it. But I put the botanical name in the title. When I remember, I try to put the botanical name in the title of the herbs I'm doing a profile on. I'm really terrible at remembering all of them. Like, I know that black seed is Nigella sativa, and I know that elderberry is Sambucus nigra, black elderberry, that is. But I tend to forget, so that's why I type them up, and you can see the botanical name, and it will tell you specifically. But anyway, there's all kinds of different herbs for pain. Let's see. Do you know about DMSO? Yes, I do. I made a comfrey salve, but considered adding DMSO to it for the pain relief and healing. DMSO I keep on hand. I don't mix it in with any of the salves or anything like that I make or the muscle rub. What I do is if I feel I need that extra boost, I'll then I mean, I don't mix it into the container that I put that mixture in that I've created. But I might mix it separately, like in my hand before rubbing it into, let's say I have a broken toe. Because what the DMSO will do, it's very much like this other certain substance I'm not allowed to mention on YouTube that starts with a T and also comes from the pine tree. Um, both of those work really well at carrying whatever it is deeper into the tissues. So, if you're trying to heal broken bones, or you get deep into the muscles, that's when I use the DMSO. I don't have a video on it yet. One of these days, I should do a video on it, but I don't use it that often, but we do keep some on hand for that kind of thing. So, let's see what else here. But yeah, you can mix it with your comfrey salve. I just don't like mixing it permanently. I only like mixing it for if I feel I really need that little extra boost. My favorite oils to use for infusing, the one I use predominantly is avocado oil, and here's why. You can use whatever you want, as long as it's a good, healthy oil and it's good for your skin and so on. But avocado oil, well, first of all, it doesn't have a scent. And so if you're using it like in my homemade skin cream that I sell, and I don't want to have that overpowering olive oil scent to it. I'd rather not, but I also don't like infusing with olive oil because if you keep it in too warm of a place, olive oil can go rancid. And I've made that mistake before where olive oil can go rancid. I don't know what I just said. Olive oil can go rancid, but avocado can handle a higher heat. Thus, even though I don't heat the oils, I keep them in the warmest part of the house when I'm infusing them. And if they sit there for months and months and months, I don't worry about it because it's not going to go rancid and it never has. And this is why I prefer avocado oil. Another one that is also, I think, can handle the higher heats like avocado is grapeseed oil. And it also does not have a strong smell to it. I usually just have easier access to getting the avocado oil than I do the grapeseed. Because when it comes to grapeseed, I would prefer to have an organic. I don't worry about it as much for the avocado, but for the grapeseed, yes, because of grapes. Let's see here. Remember all caps. I can read them a lot better, and I know you're asking a question directly to me and not, you're not talking to somebody else. Tell me more about lion's mane. Lion's mane is really good for memory and brain health in general. Um, I have a video in that list I put down below, herbs and more, benefits and uses. I have a video on lion's mane in there. I have a video on turkey tail as well. My hair has been breaking off 3 inches from my scalp. My goodness. Besides horsetail, what else can I try? So, rosemary is good for rosemary, sage, lavender, nasturtium flowers. These are all really good to help with hair growth. Now, I have a video where I've made a hair growth oil. So now what I do is I infuse the oil with the different herbs like horsetail, red pepper or cayenne pepper, um, what else? Like sage, rosemary, things like that, and infuse the oil. And I'll let that infuse for a couple months and then strain that out and then add some essential oils. And that can be one or all three or all four, like peppermint oil is another one you can add, lavender oil, so essential oils, rosemary and or sage. One or more of those. And then massage it into your scalp after you wash your hair and just leave it in. Um, if you have really oily hair, that might be something you only want to do before you go to bed at night and then wash it out in the morning. You have dry hair like me, you just rub it in. Because when I first went off the thyroid medication and then I got the Epstein-Barr virus and it caused me to lose a ton of hair, I was rubbing that. That's where I came up with that blend and I started rubbing it into my scalp. And I found that it seemed to help quite a bit. But I would also suggest making sure you're getting plenty of healthy fats in to your diet. So remember your skin health and your hair health, your nail health, your teeth health, all of this stuff, even though it's stuff we see visibly on the outside, you also needs to be nourished from the inside. So you can prevent, I mean, if you're really, really pale, maybe not, but if you're more olive complected like me, you can get away in the summertime without wearing any sunscreen by simply eating right. Because when you're eating right, your skin will naturally have its own sun protective properties. Remember, back in the day, they didn't have sunscreen. That wasn't, people might also wear more clothing, but that not on their face. And but yeah, but topically you can put things on like coconut oil and shea butter, and those have natural sun screen protection in them. I personally don't know enough about Japanese knotweed, but tinctures are easy. Just go watch my video. I know I put a what am I trying to say? A playlist to tinctures and extracts in the description box. I also put a playlist to teas and infusion in the description box, and you can scroll through there and you can find the video I recommend is tinctures and extracts are easy. And a lot of people try to make it too hard. I don't follow any one rule of thumb for okay, this herb has to be tinctured this way and this herb has to be tinctured this way. I just do it. Okay. I'm not saying my way is the right way, but sometimes I think people just get too inundated with so much specific stuff because this person has this opinion that they're too afraid to try. Just do it. Just take your knotweed and dry it. I just recommend drying it personally. You don't have to, but you can, if you're making a tincture, you don't have to dry it. But I like to have dried because I think it's gonna be stronger. Because if it's not dried, then you've got more water that's in that plant. Now, when I make my rosemary extract, I do use fresh. It has a nice, strong, potent flavor, and it's actually I found it's also very helpful for helping to open up the passageways. The rosemary when it gets really strong, I do like to use fresh for that. So you can use fresh, but yeah, most time I use dried. Just throw it in a jar, throw in whatever your solvent is, mix it up really good, let it sit for 2 to 3 months or more if you want. But I always recommend at least 2 months. Some people say 4 weeks, 6 weeks. I always say 2 months just to make sure. A lot of times, the longer these things sit, the stronger they'll get. Some things it will eventually get to a point where you pulled out everything you can pull out, but I found with the rosemary one, that one just kept getting stronger. It sat for 2 years. I mean, I was working on it a little at a time, but when I finally got to the bottom of it, boy, it was powerful. So it still kept getting stronger. And I've got another one that's been back there for months. And that for that one, I use the homemade wine and raw honey mixture blend. I even have a short where it shows me making that and the fresh rosemary. It's really good. It's really good for colds and flus. So, what time are we at here? It's only 1 o'clock. That's not too bad. So, what else do we have here? If Hexclad is no good, then what should I use? So the well, that's some people may like ceramic. Me, I'd be afraid of breaking. I do use glass, like Corel, those thick glass, like I have some brown ones that I probably go back to the 70s. I just love that have lids. I prefer to have like when it comes to baking dishes, anything that's going to come with its own lid so I don't have to use aluminum on it. So I have some glass baking dishes that have their own lids. I have stainless steel baking dishes. I have some nice big ones that have glass lids that go with them. Uh, and then for like cooking on the stove top, like, like a frying pan, I use cast iron. Those are the 3 number 1 things I use. Stainless steel, cast iron. Oh, and pots, like for boiling, cooking up some pasta or whatever. Stainless steel and soup. Things like that, sauces. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to read some of this. I should grab my broken glasses here. What does this say? I have dandelion tincture from last spring. I still haven't tried. Should be. Especially if you used a higher proof alcohol, but even if you didn't, it should still be good as long as it's something that's gonna preserve, wine preserves naturally, honey preserves naturally, vinegar preserves naturally, and so do your higher proof alcohols. People tell you the vodka and whatnot has a longer shelf life. Well, how long do people store wine? You know? People spend a lot of money on expensive wine that's 100 years old or 50 years old. So, yeah, I don't I don't worry about that. And wine I can make for really cheap. So, Rose of Sharon, if you check out my video on liver health, um, the problem is I don't remember everything off the top of my head because when I compile that stuff, I write it down and I read it off. But typically, anything that's going to be good for your kidneys is going to be good for your liver. Uh, sometimes it's just there's a lot of herbs that are good that are very cleansing, dandelion and so on. There's just a lot of good stuff. And sometimes my brain gets it all jumbled up. I'll remember it later, the next day or an hour after I'm done. Oh, I should have said this, that, the other thing. This is where the pre-recorded videos come in handy because I can write this stuff down. It's like, oh yeah, as I'm thinking of it, and then read it off. So let's see if there's anything else. Let's see. Need prayer for instructions, knowledge, guidance, and always God will answer prayer. Give him thanks humbly for everything. Thank you, Heidi, for sharing this. Thank you. All right. Yeah, there is so much, people. When it gets talking about herbs, You could be here for hours and hours and only just barely scratch the surface. And then trying to pull all of that stuff out of my brain like that, it just is not gonna happen, sorry. What's my prescription for readers? I don't have a prescription. Are you talking about the glasses? I just buy cheap. I think I think the 1.5 is what I like, and I have some 2.0, but they're a little too strong. Mostly I had to start wearing them because when I was fine until I started my channel and was constantly having to do a lot of video editing. I'd sit at the computer like this. It was so hard on my eyes. It's just I don't think my eyes will be the same. I mean, I'm getting older too. I'm 58, but one of the things I found that really, really helped with my eyes was for editing. If you guys don't know this, now what I do, and it might be something you might want to know if you are on the computer a lot. I mean, I've tried the blue light block. I've tried this stuff. Everybody said, nope, it did not help me. What I found worked best was to hook my computer up to our big TV screen in the living room and then sit across the room from it. And I have my keyboard on my lap and do it that way. Huge difference. Huge difference. Made it so much easier. Let's see. I have Heal All. I'm just found it in my garden this last I did a video on it, but I just found it in my garden this last year, and I'm anxious this coming year to start gathering that and drying it and then being able to use that because there's so many good things. That's why it's called Heal All, or Self Heal is the another common name for it. And it's just a weed, quote unquote, just like dandelion is a weed and plantain is a weed, and they all just packed full of so many great benefits. And this is the thing. If I would have, well, I'll say I'm still glad that I bought a lot of the herb seed that I did and started growing some of these different herbs, like the marshmallow, the feverfew, and whatnot. But if I had fully understood all the benefits of dandelion, plantain, and some of these other wild weeds that just are all over the place out here, I probably wouldn't have worried so much about putting in certain other herbs, worried about really trying to grow these particular things. But then again, some of it's just fun, like the mullein. I didn't really have to grow the mullein, but I really got to where I really wanted to. And it has been helpful for Patrick and his lungs. So that's a good thing. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the thank yous. I appreciate it. So, go grateful Christian. Go check out my thyroid video. There's a picture of me and Patrick sitting in this very room talking about what we did, and under that you'll find a list that I typed up. It's a link to the list. And it's right at the top of the description box. And you can go to that list and you can see the list of things that we added and things we subtracted. And I still recommend you listen to the video though. Was shot in 2018, but basically we're giving our testimony, and then I go into later, it's kind of long, but then later I go into the video on what we started cutting and what we started adding. But one of the top things that I started growing for the sake of my thyroid was stinging nettle. Stinging nettle is great. And if it grows wild in your area, you don't have to grow it in your garden. Go forage for it. So it's really great for nourishing the thyroid. Let's see here. There was another topic I wanted to cover. Maybe. But you know what? Now that I think about it, I should probably get going since it does sound like I have at least one grandbaby, and it'd probably be at least a week before I get to see him. So I should probably get off here so I can go spend a little time with him. And yes, I use beeswax in my skin cream and usually in my salve as well. It's an easy way, natural way to get it thicker if you're wanting it a thicker consistency. But anyway, so I need to get going. I almost forgot they were in there. I can hear Jackson there being silly. So thank you everyone for dropping in. I really appreciate it. And if you would like to see more Q&A, don't forget to don't forget to subscribe to Rain Country 2 always linked in the description box of any of my new videos that have come out in the last few weeks so that you can see me go on live, or even if you have to watch a replay, usually I'll come back and answer questions I may have missed or questions again that I might have got through email or in comments and so on. So you might want to make sure you're subscribed to that and also to my Rumble channel so you can watch the videos on those substances that I'm not allowed to talk about on YouTube anymore. And one of them is linked to the at the very top of my Rumble channels. Link it's I wish I could pin two of them because then I'd pin the second one up there too. But I can't. I can only have one pinned at a time. Anyway, thank you everyone and hope you have a blessed rest of your day. And again, take care and God bless. Love y'all.